The City of Tshwane is warning residents against raiding spaza shops in an attempt to do their own health checks. It comes after a number of children died due to alleged food poisoning from products bought from informal traders. Now, Police Minister Bheki Cele has called on the relevant government departments to strengthen oversight inspections at spaza shops. Let's unpack the story further now. We're joined this morning by a former Tshwane MMC Abel Tau. It's great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. I mean, obviously, this is a case of residents trying to fill the gaps that officials have told us before that they are unable to do. But this surely can't be the way that we conduct these kinds of inspections.
Absolutely, Michelle. Good morning, and good morning to the viewers at home. You're absolutely correct that this call by MMC Max would be a correct call at this stage to say residents should refrain from taking the law into their own hands, because two wrongs will never make a right. And as a responsible leader in the city, it would be a call that I make. But over and above that, Michelle, and I'm saying under normal circumstances, because knowing this current administration and obviously their shortcomings, it is obviously a way for them to just pour cold water on the current crisis, just to make sure that they stay long enough for the crisis to wane off. And it is the unfortunate part about what they are asking for. Tshwane has a very bad track record when it comes to protecting its citizens. You go as far back as 2017 when 5 children died in Block R. Nothing was done. Those families were never compensated. You can go on to projects that took lives of children in Hammanskraal, where there were open trenches that were never covered. And the list goes on and on and on until recently that there were some MMCs who admitted that Tshwane might be complicit in the cholera outbreak in Hammanskraal. So obviously we take this with a pinch of salt, knowing that this city is not going to do anything with the current challenges with municipal health services and the metropolis, where they don't even have vehicles to do what they normally do. To discharge their normal duties, then you know that this is just kicking to touch, especially for a government that doesn't care. These issues are happening in townships where the most vulnerable people are, and this is where Tshwane is not delivering services. So this is just blowing hot air from the MMC, from where we are standing, but we continue the call to say, let us find better solutions and let citizens not take the law into their own hands.
Yeah, you've brought in the issue of cholera to try and make that point, Abel, and one could argue as well the issue of violence in communities, where we've seen in the latest crime statistics an increase in vigilantism. It's residents, communities trying to fill the gaps that officials seem unable to do.
Absolutely, Michelle. I think one thing that really is a very big indictment to all of us as leaders in society, as officials, and everyone who's raised their hand to take lead in society, is that we are not doing enough. I think we've lost the communities, and people feel that they need to do things for themselves. And it is an unfortunate situation which we need to stand up and be counted for. And therefore, yes, indeed. I mean, you look at the rate of violence in our communities, it really is shocking. I mean, even the current xenophobic attacks and the wave of xenophobia, it is because there is a void and a gap that has been left open. Indeed, a lot needs to be done. We need to be able to do much better border control. I mean, there are bylaws to really tackle this issue. For starters, in Tshwane and in every municipality, anyone who needs to own any informal trading business should be a permit holder of that stand where the business is operating. Right now, these people are tenants. You cannot have that. Even by a bylaw, you cannot have that. So there are instruments in law that are currently available that cities can use to ensure that they reverse the sketch. And reverse the sketch means also these are low-hanging fruit, that we come up with mechanisms and make sure that South Africans who once owned tuck shops or where these spazas are trained, they're given the kind of support, and then we fill the void and make sure that we put our people to work, because this informal sector can really be a good spin-off for jobs. But unfortunately, we are sitting with officials and people whose hearts are not in the right place. For as long as they're driven around in blue lights, they don't care what happens in townships, because they live in gated communities. And unfortunately, that violence does not reach them, at least for now.
Do you get the sense that in the various sort of aspects of what we've discussed this morning, that people in certain communities, as you say, certain communities are more affected than others, that they do feel like they are on their own?
Absolutely. Look, Michelle, if you come to Tshwane, you have two Tshwanes that you come across. You've got an affluent Tshwane which does not have load shedding in the east of Pretoria, where the streets are clean. I mean, it really is a different city from the one that you would get just 10 kilometers away in Zamaya Road in Mamelodi, or as you drive into Ngomo in Atteridgeville. And the same is true in Soshanguve. So obviously, people have lost hope. This has been 7 years now since they were promised a better Tshwane, and that has not materialized. And unfortunately, it continues to deteriorate even further. This is a rainy season. Since 2019, we've been talking about flood victims. They've not been moved until now. By the time I left as MMC, we had bought the land, but those people have not been moved. I can go on and on about incidences and programs that should have made our people's lives better, which have not been followed through, and unfortunately, they have resulted in a state where people have lost hope. And you see, even the sprawling of the many political parties and civic organizations that take the matters into their own hands, it's because of this situation. And I'm saying we really need to stop the blame game and really stand up and be counted. And I just hope that leaders who are currently in positions of authority can understand that this is a time where we can unite and bring lasting solutions to our communities. It doesn't matter who the person who suggests a solution is, but if it works, let's put it to practice and let's embrace that and move as society, because honestly, this status quo is not going to take us forward as a country.
I want to just go back to the issue of informal traders and these inspections that we need to be conducted in the sector, Abel. I mean, informal traders, and I'm going to play devil's advocate on their behalf this morning. One is going to assume that they are doing their best, right, to provide a safe service to the communities where they operate. And perhaps they would welcome these regular inspections by officials to ensure that they are up to standard and that the food that they are selling is indeed safe. And of course, we know that they provide an important service to communities as well. Everyone is losing out here.
Everyone is losing out. I've done some work with the Barekisi Forum, which is a forum of informal traders here in Tshwane, and there was a program that we had left where they are absolutely willing to work with government because they appreciate it and understand that they cannot operate in an environment that is not regulated. They have come together to self-regulate, and therefore it makes it easy for municipalities such as the City of Tshwane to intervene through the Department of Economic Development and work with these guys. There is also another forum that is led by women only. I mean, that really needs to be empowered to do better. And hence I'm saying if we were to introduce programs that would allow and use the state strength of procurement to ensure that we enhance these informal traders so that they just go from the informal economy at some stage to be elevated to the real economy, because they cannot continue to be informal traders forever. And if we are a government that's for the people, we should be looking at ways to say, how do we intervene and make sure that South Africans who are trying are going to be given that leg up to be able to step up to the next level. And these are kind of solutions that should be there. But unfortunately, when you bring on board people and individuals who this trip is about their egos and not about saving society and people, you end up in a situation where arrogantly they are not going to be willing to talk to certain individuals because they believe that those individuals will never give them any ideas. And I believe that the best of ideas will always come from the least likely sources. And therefore, we are urging and calling on the mayor currently, Celius Brink, and his Mako to say, come down, get off your high horse, and let's give you ideas that work. You don't have to say to South Africans or to people of Tshwane, these ideas came from this source, for as long as our people benefit and we can move forward. This is a really difficult time for everyone, and therefore this is not time for grandstanding. It's time for everyone to put heads together so that we are able to then take our people forward. I think the Springboks have demonstrated what we can do when the best amongst us are brought together and we bring our different skills and abilities to take each other as a team forward. And I think from that perspective, all of us really want to come down to a position where we are saying, let's work together. We are open. We don't just want to lament and blame. We want to assist. That is why we've not been engaging in these acts as TTA. We have been saying to communities, we want to engage the city in a constructive manner. Up until now, MMC Mask has not announced a plan of some sort. This is just a statement of words with no real tangible actions that would be there. But we are engaging them and calling on them to say, let's then put a plan together for you that you can support as a city, and you can embrace that plan and own that plan. It's okay, for as long as we save lives in the townships and we save livelihoods.
Abel Tau is a former Tshwane MMC. Let me thank you for your time this morning.